to the podcast, The Secrets of Success. This is Elena Badea, Managing Director of the training, consulting, and executive coaching company Valoria. And I'm so excited to have as a guest today on the podcast Cari Caldwell, who lives in London and is a hypnotherapist. Hi, Cari. Thank you for accepting the invitation to come on the podcast. I'm very excited to have this conversation with you. And I just want to say hi. How are you doing?
Hi, Elena. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. And the weather is cleared up in London, so I've got the nice, bright sunny sky behind me to, facilitate the conversation. It's a very exciting opportunity for me. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Me too. I would love for the Romanian viewers, the people who watch the podcast, to learn a little bit about what's going on in your professional life. And therefore, let's start by telling them, how have you gotten to be a hypnotherapist?
Oh, that's a very interesting question.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't something I normally would have thought I would do.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody had said to me, I trained, when was it? In 2019. So it's about 2 years now coming up to my training. So it's 2 years. So it's quite new to me still. It's ongoing learning curve, which is great. One of the things I love about it, because it's very creative work, obviously. But if somebody had said to me maybe, 3 years ago, what would you feel about doing hypnotherapy? I wouldn't have thought like, oh my God, no, what is that? But I would have thought, oh, that'd be really interesting, but I can't see myself doing that. That's how I would have thought. I would have thought being a hypnotherapist, I always thought it was being something very interesting,
Mm-hmm.
but I just couldn't see myself doing it. It's just, I don't know why. And it crept up on me,
Mm-hmm.
and mainly through the platform Mind Valley,
Mm-hmm.
where I did a program with Marissa Peer called Uncompromised Life. And I thought it was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I got very interested in her work, and then I realized she did training, and part of it took place in London where I live. And I remember kind of thinking, God, that would be so interesting to do something like that. But I kind of thought of it in the sense that you think of other people doing something, not yourself.
True.
It crept up on me. Then I watched the training kind of intros out of curiosity, of course, thinking well, it won't be something I'll do, but I'm interested to see.
Mm-hmm.
Then I thought about, well, maybe I'll phone and ask about the training and find out more about it. Again, thinking, I'm just curious. And then just something dropped, the penny dropped, and I was watching something, a training program, took place in London in a hotel. And I was literally thinking, I live in London. I could. And I could just suddenly see myself going out the door, getting a bus, traveling into London. And I'm thinking, there's a group of people sitting in this room learning this right now. And I thought, I could be there.
Mm-hmm.
That could be me. And then it just was like, okay, let's make the inquiry again. Look through the stuff. And then I made the decision, and that's it.
Amazing. I love this story. Tell us a little bit about your background. Before the hypnotherapy, what?
Before hypnotherapy, I am from the US originally, so I'm not a native Londoner. And I came to the UK to study. I did painting. And then sometime later, I did what you call a classics degree, which mainly means Latin and ancient Greek. So I did language studies. I did some French, some Spanish, a tiny bit of Italian, but mainly was focused on the classical languages, Latin, ancient Greek, and painting. So, and I had a job for a number of years, which was, I guess, what you would call kind of admin based in university, but a lot of it is about bureaucracy and spreadsheets and things.
That's what my mother used to do at the Polytechnical University in Bucharest. So
yeah.
But that was before the spreadsheets part.
Yeah, well, a lot of it's bureaucracy, and it's not something I love, a desk job where you're looking at spreadsheets and doing things like that all day. And I was looking for ages for something else to do. And, the hypnotherapy has been really I mean, it was in that place where I'm thinking, what could I possibly do I wanted self-employment. I wanted to work for myself. As you understand, because you come from a similar place, you work for yourself. It has its challenges, but it's different. But I wanted that independence. And it's like, what can I do that would enable me to make a decent living and do something creative, and then have some time where my other creative, like painting and language, could come into it. Where does that exist? Well, hypnotherapy is the place. I'm telling you, it's beautiful. Beautiful creative work. I'll learn this for the rest of my life, because every time a client comes, I learn something new. It's based on my clients.
It is. It is. I can vouch for that.
Absolutely beautiful work. I mean, what happens in hypnosis, my clients I call it poetry in motion. Hypnotherapy for me is poetry in motion.
Amazing. So tell us a little bit about what I know that you have put together a 90-day program.
Oh, yeah.
What is that about? Tell us a little bit more.
Okay, my 90-day program is called the Encore Transformation. What I say within what I work with hypnotherapy, basically my focus, my niche, if you will, is I create encore careers, is what I say. And what that means is basically my focus, women and men in their 40s and 50s who want to break out of the 9-to-5 and want to set up their own business, want to become entrepreneurs, and they need some help getting over some stumbling blocks like confidence, state of security. I've got this job that's really well paid. I feel very trapped. Do I give it up? It's risky. Am I too old? I'm not in my 30s anymore. Am I too old? Is it too late? All those kinds of things. So I work with those kinds of issues, and also things to do with anxiety, overwhelm, depression. Just getting people in the best place possible so they feel your so-called, other half of life is amazing.
Yes.
Not like, oh, you do all the fun stuff in your 20s and 30s. Then when you turn the corner, 40s, 50s, and onwards, you're meant to maintain. Yeah. And it's too late to change. It's like, no, that's not true. So that's mainly the basis of it. And the 90-day package is really, it's like a series of, it's based on 3 rounds of hypnotherapy with a structure of, like a consultation to get the focus. There's hypnotherapy, and then there's some follow-up. And I use some kind of related tools in the follow-up related to, just bringing out the best of the hypnotherapy session to get my clients grounded. And what happens in the 3 sessions is you find initially, I guess the first 30 days is where the client will focus a lot of their struggle or the main issue that's really kind of they feel is holding them back. And after that, the second 2 sessions will be about, depending on the client, it will move on from the first session, either in a related way but a different focus, or sometimes it will be, like for depression, for example, that's 3 sessions. Depression's deep-rooted. Client I had in the US recently for 3-month session, he came for weight.
Okay.
He put on a lot of weight, a lot of stress and anxiety in his job. So the first session is food. But a lot of stress, anger, and anxiety became the driving force behind food, as is always the case. Last 2 sessions were based on anxiety and anger, basically, and fear. It becomes more like peeling back those layers where there's a lot of anger, expressing a lot of anger, and then you get to the root of it, which is fear. Feeling uncertain in an uncertain world. And those were the focus of the last 2 sessions. And you see this progression throughout the 90 days with the client, with the way they think about things, where they're placing themselves. The example of my client in the States was initially about food. We move on. We got him to say, I always have my clients come out with key statements for themselves. Keep it simple. I want something they can write on a piece of paper, not overly exaggerated. But I get a key statement from them during this process, and his initial statement was, I want to make the week work, which is a good statement. It's nice and solid and it's grounded. And, you know, it's his client's words. I never give my clients statements. They do that themselves. By our third, I just finished with him. And our last session last month, his statement was, I want to work on the rhythm of the day. So that 90 days, I mean, that's hard to encompass, but basically you get somebody shifting from a lot of deep anger, struggling to get a positive statement where everything, even when they're trying to be positive, I don't want to be angry, I don't want to be anxious, I don't want to wake up in the morning and feel like this, to get them over into, I want to make the week work, I want to work on the rhythm of the day. That kind of exemplifies in a very, well, simplistic, not simplistic way, but that kind of transformation over a 90-day period of shifting somebody where there still be registers of anxiety and stress in his job while he's looking to transition, because he hasn't quite, the transition point is shifting a bit. And there is uncertainty with COVID and things like that. He had an opportunity that fell through because of COVID. And you have to be honest with hypnotherapy. And I tell people, hypnotherapy won't take life away. It won't change difficult circumstances. It will put you in a better place to deal with difficult circumstances and feel you can trust yourself. And he's definitely at that point now where he still has registers of stress and anxiety, but he is reframing it. Instead of like lashing out in anger, he's reframing it to deal with it in a more effective way. And this client said also at work, colleagues would notice he had a bit of a temper. He would fly off the handle, complain. That was his reputation, which is very negative. But this also happens with people. They cling to an identity that isn't even positive.
Yes. But it's what they have, isn't it? Yeah. It's what they have. Yeah.
And in our last session, I said, okay, what's happening now? Second session, he was saying, okay, I had a very stressful time. I felt the stress. I didn't react in the normal way, We got to the third session. He said, I started to feel stressed. He said, what I usually do in those circumstances, just get over it. Just get on with it. Get the job done. He said, what I did was, and this is a simple thing, but it wasn't usual for him. I walked away from it. He said, I went back 6 or 7 times, and then I got the job done. And he said, it's not what I normally would do. He said, okay, just walk away from it. I went and did something else. I walked away from it. I went and did something else. I came back to it a few times and did stages of it. And he said the stress was very minimal. And a colleague remarked,
who's this guy? Who's this guy?
Yeah, exactly. He said, a colleague said, it's not your usual style. This is an example of a 90-day period where the person isn't going to turn around at like 180-degree turn overnight, but the needle starts to move. That's the thing. They're stuck in this place. No matter how hard they try, they are stuck in this place. The needle starts to move, and then things really do start to open out. And then they surprise themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then they are, now he sees himself in a different light.
Yes. Yeah, I know what you're saying. What do you think about Marisa Peers? I mean, she's not so well known here. I just want you to just tell us a little bit about Marisa and how do you see her?
Well, I did a training with her, and she trained us I did 5 days live in London. That was in 2019. The first day you work with trainers to get settled, and then she came in for the 4 days and did training with us, which means, she talked, did Q&A, and also she did demos with us with volunteers. So it's very thorough training. And we do master classes with her every month. Every month. Mm-hmm. There's always ongoing, continuing professional development. It's not like You got your qualification, you're finished now. You go every month and do something. They're always offering seminars and trainings. They're going to do more work with trauma in the future, trauma training. They're always developing, which I love. I'm always learning. So it's not like, oh, case closed, got your certificate, go and do some hypnotherapy. It's not like that. She trained as a hypnotherapist, I think in the 70s, with a gentleman called Gil Boyne, who at the time was quite well known in hypnotherapy. He worked with a lot of actors. He worked with Sylvester Stallone when he was doing, Sylvester Stallone wanted to be an actor. And he came to Gil Boyne for some hypnotherapy. And what Gil Boyne told him was, hypnotherapy won't make you a better actor, but what it can do is find your natural channel, which for him was like kind of physical. Find a natural channel for that aggression. And basically what he told Sylvester Stallone to do was go and write the part yourself that's going to fit you best. Rather than try it, because in a way Sylvester Stallone is a limited actor. And he was saying, you're not going to fit the mold for a lot of this stuff. So channel that, write your own script for what's going to suit you best.
And then you will become visible, or even...
But you'll get your best chance.
Exactly.
And he ended up with, he said, look, you're from Philadelphia. He was like me. You know, you're a bit rough. You're not like crystal cut, California style. And he went out and did the street stuff, and he came up with Rocky. And I would guess someone who scripted it would rewrite the script. But basically that's how that happened. But he was very much, this thing about hypnotherapy that's beautiful. It really is about not making somebody over into this new person. It's about finding the natural thing and the best to do with it. But he worked with other actors and actresses as well. And Marissa Peer trained with him, and she loved him. She said he was a genius. And I think part of the genius is his ability to listen and key into people and understand who they were. And she works in a very similar way. So basically what she did was she trained with Gil Boyne with hypnotherapy. She adopted most of his method, but what she did over her gradual progression of over 30 years working as a hypnotherapist was she did some training in NLP and other modalities. So she kind of pulled in some elements of CBT and NLP that she thought would work very well with hypnotherapy. And she adapted some tools in her method that are derived from those. And they work beautifully. So that's her kind of innovation, if you will. And she doesn't really see clients any longer, very few. She began to teach her method in 2015. So her method of teaching is called Rapid Transformational Therapy, RTT for short, but it's quite new as a modality with her teaching. She only started in 2015, so. But that's where it comes from, basically.
Yeah, I didn't know that story. Thank you for sharing it with us. It's quite a story, actually, with Sylvester Stallone and everything else. It will
I mean,
keep people very engaged.
Well, it's I guess it's because something that it's kind of an easy example, because you can see as an actor he is very limited in some ways. But I think the genius of her trainer was understanding what to do with that, rather than saying, well, you're not really suited to be an actor, you're from the wrong town, and it's not going to work, and let's find something else for you to do. He kind of could see some elements there, but said, okay, look, you're going to have to take this is the main thing I'm sensing here. You have to go back and touch your roots somewhere, and I suggest you write something that's going to suit you and see what you can do with it. It's kind of an unusual way to do things, but it's very insightful.
It is very insightful. And isn't this something that we should all be doing at a certain moment in time? I mean, just stopping with the making over of our life and start looking for the deep roots and the authentic self. What do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's the whole, well, I mean, that's the whole thing that hypnotherapy works with, really, is helping somebody, you know, if they're troubled by things, whether it's confidence, food addictions, depression, anxiety, it is about getting to the root cause. And when you get there, it can be a very painful place, but what it does is it helps somebody to realize that they have their own set of strengths and things to work with.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to help anybody, is to get them to the place where they can best help themselves.
What is it that you love? I mean, what's the most rewarding part of your work?
Just, I guess, like my most recent example of my client in the States, where they really feel embedded in this place where they're unhappy and accept themselves as being this very negative person, and getting them to that place where they surprise themselves. I didn't lose my temper today at work. I did this instead, and it worked really well. I would never have thought of that before. And then other people noticing you losing weight. Hey, what happened, dude? This isn't your normal routine. Joking, because it's all man stuff where he works. But people noticing,
Mhm.
and just having, it really is about the client having that surprise about themselves. This is me. Not like I have to cover myself over
Yeah.
because my temper is unacceptable. All these things about myself are unacceptable. Well,
Mhm.
they're not unacceptable, but they're difficult.
Mhm.
And you keep layering that on. It's helping them to unlayer all that, and they get to that place where they're like, oh, well, that person today at work was me.
And how does it make you feel? I mean, when they just tell you about all this stuff.
Well, it's just a beautiful feeling. That's why I call it poetry in motion. And it's their work. That's the thing I always stress with my clients.
Yeah.
When I had the review session with my gentleman in the US, we went over the language, and I said, well, look, here are a couple of statements here. I want to make the week work, and we talked about that. And then I want to work on the rhythm of the day. And I said, what do you think about those statements? And I said, they're both positive, but there's a difference in feeling to either one. Not one is better than the other. We talked about that. And I said to him, you do realize these are your own words, don't you?
Mhm.
And he kind of went, you know, well, he didn't necessarily remember. You know, I don't expect the clients to remember. The thing is, they start to act it out and they see it. Then when you bring their own words back to them at a later stage, when you're reviewing the session, it's like, you know, I'm giving them these statements. They're like, and that, of course, it's their words, so it's hitting somewhere. They're like, oh yeah. And it's like, well, this is your statement. And they're like going,
What?
oh, yeah, yeah. But then they realize, and also, instead of being this person with like one way to react to everything, which is like stressed out and angry and being known for having a temper and complaining, I said, well, look, you've got two different things here to work with. You've got, you know, I want to make the week work, and you've got this other one, work on the rhythm of the day. I said, they're both positive. They've got completely different feeling to either one. I said, this gives you two channels to work with.
Absolutely.
So you've got, you know, a balance there. If you want to be more solid and grounded, you go for one. If you want to get a bit more flow, I said they can interact. It's not like stock. But then suddenly this person who's like, get me out of here, is like, they have two options here.
And freedom to choose.
Yeah. And then they realize it's of their own making.
Absolutely. I love it. I totally love it.
I'm the guide, but I'm not giving them stuff. It's to get them to uncover and say in their own words. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about it. The the statement, like I guide my clients to come out with their own statements, their own guiding words, and the things they come out with are things I would never be able to think to give them. That's the beauty of it.
Yes, it is. Two more questions. Let's start to wrap this conversation up, although it is very, very interesting for me to hear your thoughts. But let's see, what have you noticed about how people have struggled to cope with these difficult times? What have you noticed about people?
I'm not sure. I mean, because I've worked with like depression, anxiety, and things to begin with. I'm not sure this time with what I work with has really, all of my clients are coming with uncertainty.
Yeah.
In a strange way, this situation for my clients, this isn't going to be true for everybody. It's hard to pin down. With my clients, this situation has brought my clients to a more reflective place.
Yeah.
It's not like sudden panic, I don't know what to do because of COVID. It's more of the thing, I've been feeling like this for a long time. I kind of gotten to the point where I want to do something about it. That's kind of what I've ended up with my clients. But I know other therapists who've gotten a lot more literal panic attack type scenarios.
Sure.
For some reason I think that just is kind of, I don't know how you account for that, but my clients have been more along the path of, I've been thinking about this for ages, and it just seems like a good time to really try and get this sorted out or work on this, or it's more reflective.
Yeah, and I tend of seeing the same with my clients. Maybe because I don't know how to deal with panic attacks and so on. So I'm more of that a person who can help and guide and help people become more connected with themselves. So maybe that's why we get to see this kind of a reaction instead of the panicked people who want to get some help. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I can work with that, but I don't really, the clients that I have had over the last year at least have been, I don't know, had some degrees of panic, but not quite. I know other therapists who have more of that type of client.
Yeah, I see. But anyways, there have been so many reactions to the first, at the beginning of the pandemic, where everybody was a little bit confused and not understanding what's going on, and then the lockdowns, and then the rumors, let's say, about the vaccine. And I mean, there have been so many things going on. And now I see that people are sort of tired and wanting to be ended with it and get back to the new normal or the old normal or any kind of normal.
Yes, exactly. But then you're thinking, what was normal to begin with?
Absolutely nothing. But this is how people tend to put everything in boxes and categories, and it's just something helpful for our mind to deal with. You know, the life is so complex. We need a little bit of help in this area. But other than that, I am very happy that we have now, in this period of time, a lot of options to get support.
Yes, exactly.
Compared to 30 years ago or 20 years ago.
Oh, yes. People were just left, I agree.
And even beyond this period of time, with we can get a lot of hope of support with whatever we want to improve and work on as human beings, and that's amazing. I mean,
yes, I agree.
People used to suffer their personalities and their temperament and their upbringing and their traumas, and there was not much possible for them other than suffering. But now we have a lot of information around, and so many options, from hypnotherapists to other many other options, many other options.
Oh yes, no, I
That's-
agree.
that's
I agree
amazing.
entirely. Things like acupuncture and
Exactly.
I mean, all kinds of things, yoga, exercise. I mean, there's so many different modalities, but I totally agree. Rather than just leaving people with nothing, it's so
Yeah.
much more.
I find this sort of not exactly just refreshing, but it gives a lot of hope, isn't it? I mean, why
No, it
suffer?
does.
Why suffer your upbringing or
Mm.
your context of your previous lives? Just do something about it, right?
Mm.
Yeah, ask for some help. Find a
No, I
way.
agree.
Read something. Find a I don't know, presentation, something that works for you, and then day by day you can improve, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Even by
Yeah.
painting, even by reading poetry, even by listening to some wonderful music, we can all do something about ourselves, and that's something that I totally, I mean, I appreciate. I totally
Yeah.
appreciate.
No, same here. Absolutely. Definitely on the same page with that.
In your opinion, Cari, in your opinion, which are the secrets of success? Let's say in life, in business, whatever you feel like sharing with us.
Secrets of success. Well, that will depend on the definition of success, but it really is about finding that connection. It's about finding something you really believe in, that you really love. It's about values, really. Any kind of, I mean, a job can pay very well, but if the value system is askew, you have to sleep with yourself at night. So, I mean, maybe some people are capable of, whatever, but for me, it's about values. It really is about values.
I know.
What do you want to give to the world while you're here? Really, it's that simple. And some people have more of a legacy thing built into it. I don't know necessarily. I suppose that for me, it really is just about what you have to give for now while you're here.
Yeah. It's about your contribution and your values.
About your contribution, your values.
And just having clarity on those, and then everything kind of falls into place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel the same. Yeah.
Thank
you so much. It's been so nice to have you on the podcast, video podcast.
Okay, it's fine.
Yeah, you have a wonderful smile, and I enjoy talking to you. We'll be in touch, and I would very much appreciate if we could do another episode in the second part of the year. How about this?
I think it'd be great. I love it. I mean, you've been a brilliant hostess. I mean, for hosting this. Normally something like this I'd be a little bit nervous about, and it was fine. I wasn't at all nervous.
Thank you so much. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, absolutely.